Hi, welcome to Luna Listens to Books channel. If you like my channel, please like and subscribe. Now the story begins. Early in my pregnancy, on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, I walked in on my fiancé and my best friend tangled in bed, the bed meant for our wedding night. Neither of them showed a shred of remorse. Instead, my fiancé humiliated me further by publicly calling off our engagement, turning me into the laughingstock of everyone we knew. Just when I thought I had hit rock bottom, Lon Seymour, my childhood friend, suddenly dropped to one knee before me. "I've loved you for a long time," he said. "I'll take responsibility. I'll be the father of your child, and I promise to protect you both for the rest of my life." In an effort to reassure me, Lon took me to register our marriage that very day and even arranged a grand wedding ceremony for me. I thought I had found my salvation, but at 8 months pregnant, I overheard a conversation between Lon and my ex-fiancée, Jamie Ashton, that shattered my illusions. "You actually married Zara just to use the baby's cord blood to save Trish? Aren't you afraid she'll find out and go berserk?" Jamie asked. Lon scoffed, completely unfazed. "You just need to know that I'll do whatever it takes to save Trish." My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone and dialed the hospital. "Hello, I'd like to schedule an abortion." Early in my pregnancy, on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, I walked in on my fiancé and my best friend tangled in bed, the bed meant for our wedding night. Neither of them showed a shred of remorse. Instead, my fiancé humiliated me further by publicly calling off our engagement, turning me into the laughingstock of everyone we knew. Just when I thought I had hit rock bottom, Lon Seymour, my childhood friend, suddenly dropped to one knee before me. "I've loved you for a long time," he said. "I'll take responsibility. I'll be the father of your child, and I promise to protect you both for the rest of my life." In an effort to reassure me, Lon took me to register our marriage that very day and even arranged a grand wedding ceremony for me. I thought I had found my salvation, but at 8 months pregnant, I overheard a conversation between Lon and my ex-fiancé, Jamie Ashton, that shattered my illusions. "You actually married Zara just to use the baby's cord blood to save Trish? Aren't you afraid she'll find out and go berserk?" Jamie asked. Lon scoffed, completely unfazed. "You just need to know that I'll do whatever it takes to save Trish." My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone and dialed the hospital. "Hello, I'd like to schedule an abortion." Even after ending the call, my hands were still shaking. "You're crazy, Anne." "Scarier than I thought," Jamie sneered, swirling the liquor in his glass as he studied Lon with disdain. Lon's expression darkened, his grip tightening around his own glass. "If you hadn't let Zara catch you and Trish together, I wouldn't have had to resort to this. You think I enjoy looking at her bloated, whale-like figure every day?" Lon downed his drink, his eyes filled with nothing but disgust and resentment. Jamie's gaze flickered. "Aren't you worried she won't agree to donate the cord blood once she finds out? Trish is running out of time," he added, his voice grim. At the mention of Trish, Lon's expression turned cold, his gaze sharp with determination. "I'm her legal husband. If Trish needs the cord blood, I can sign the authorization anytime." A chill ran down my spine, my entire body shaking. So that was the truth behind Lon's rush to marry me. I wasn't his wife. I was nothing more than a resource, a means to keep Trish Barton alive. I turned to leave, but before I could escape, a figure stepped into my path. I looked up to see Trish standing across the hall, her chin lifted in triumph. Thought I saw some fat cow wandering around. Then I wondered, how could such a high-end bar be so careless and let an animal in? She sneered. "Turns out it's just you. What more do you want?" I clenched my fists, forcing myself to stay calm. "You stole my fiancé and turned me into the town joke. What makes you think you can still look down on me?" I demanded. Trish smirked. "Just proving a point, that every man you thought loved you actually loved me." Leaning in, she whispered in my ear, "Did you really think Lon married you out of love? Don't be delusional. Who would ever love a fat, pregnant cow carrying another man's child?" Then, suddenly, she let out a dramatic scream and fell backward. The door burst open and Lon rushed in, catching her in his arms. Tears welled in Trish's eyes as she clung to him. "I just wanted to apologize to Zara, but she lost her temper and told me I should drop dead." Lon's face twisted in fury as he turned to me. "What the hell is wrong with you? Trish and Jamie love each other. You were the one who failed to keep your man. What right do you have to lash out at Trish?" Lon's icy gaze bore into me, and I felt like I was sinking into a frozen abyss. I should have seen it sooner. Love, or the lack of it, was always obvious. Lon, don't you have anything to say about Trish's illness? He didn't even glance at me. If you already know she's sick, then you should be more understanding. You two used to be best friends. Maybe I've spoiled you too much, and that's why you've turned into such a hateful woman. I let out a bitter laugh, about to speak, when Trish let out a weak cough. Lon, it hurts. I can't breathe. Even as her fingers clutched Lon's arm in a feeble grip, she managed to shoot me a triumphant look. Jamie immediately stepped forward and scooped her up in his arms. I'm taking you to the hospital. He suddenly stopped, turning to Lon with a pointed gaze. Trish is in this condition because of Zara. She needs to take responsibility for what she has done. You need to take her to hospital. I'm not going anywhere. Her condition has nothing to do with me. I clung to the doorframe, refusing to move. Lon pried my fingers off the handle, his grip bruising my wrist. If you hadn't pushed Trish, she wouldn't. My heart filled with anger instead of sympathy, only filled with disdain. I can't believe I ever married someone so cruel. Marrying you is the worst mistake I've ever done in my life. The words cut deeper than the slap, deeper than any wound. My breath hitched, my vision blurred with unshed tears. But I wouldn't let them see me break. Jamie turned to Lon, his voice sharp. Enough of this. Tie her hands. We'll take her to the operating room now. She's pregnant. She won't be able to fight us off. He tossed a rope to Lon, who caught it without hesitation. Don't you dare. I tried to pull away, but Lon was stronger. With ruthless efficiency, he wrapped the rope around my wrists, tightening it until the coarse fibers bit into my skin. Blood welled up around the bindings, but he didn't stop until I was fully restrained. Then they each grabbed one of my arms and began dragging me toward the elevator. My heart pounded wildly as I struggled, but it was no use. Just as we reached the elevator, the doors slid open, revealing a familiar face. Marilyn Howlett, a fellow expectant mother whose due date was close to mine, stepped out. Her round belly made her movements slow, but her sharp eyes landed on me immediately. Zara, what are you doing here? She glanced at her watch at this hour. A flicker of hope ignited in my chest. I opened my mouth to scream for help, but before a single sound could escape, Lon clamped his hand over my mouth. My wife wasn't feeling well, Lon said smoothly. She suddenly had stomach pains, so I brought her in for a checkup. Marilyn frowned. That's strange, she always said her pregnancy was fine. Why the sudden pain? I tried to scream again, but Lar covered my mouth tighter, muffling my voice into nothing more than a whimper. Please notice. Something is wrong. If she realizes something is off, she'll do something. Or at least tell someone. She probably ate something bad, Lon answered smoothly. Her condition is serious and needs immediate attention. That's why I brought her here. I'm the head of obstetrics at this hospital. We need to get going. Marilyn hesitated for a moment, then finally stepped aside. Yeah, of course. The baby's health comes first. Sorry for standing in your way. Hope shattered in an instant, and I felt as if I had plunged into a bottomless abyss. The elevator doors closed. Jamie suddenly kicked me in the legs. Bitch, were you trying to rat us out just now? You just can't stand to see Trish survive, can you? The pain shot through my calf, and I collapsed to my knees with a dull thud. My stomach clenched, sending a sharp, twisting agony through me. Be careful. She's still pregnant. If the baby dies inside her, the umbilical cord blood will be useless. Lon snapped at Jamie in annoyance. Jamie scoffed but complied. But I can do this, right? He bent down and pinched my arm, hard. A sharp sting shot through my skin and tears welled in my eyes. Jamie sneered, watching me wince in pain. Before I could react, Lan's phone rang. He answered immediately, his expression darkening. Dr. Seymour, your friend's fever just spiked dangerously high. You need to get here now. The call ended and Lon clenched his jaw. Trish can't wait any longer. We have to do the C-section now. As soon as the elevator doors slid open, he grabbed my wrist and pulled me forward, dragging me out. Hey, stop! A sharp voice cut through the air, making my heart leap with hope. I turned my head and saw Marilyn standing behind us, slightly out of breath. For the first time in what felt like forever, a flicker of hope reunited in my chest. Zara, you left your prenatal checkup booklet with me last time, Marilyn said with a smile, handing it to Lon. Good luck with everything. Thank you. Lon responded politely. As Marilyn turned to leave, I tried to call out to her. Mar. Before I could get the full word out, Jamie clamped a hand over my mouth. Lon immediately restrained my hands. Yes, honey, I know you're in pain. Just hold on. We're almost there. I'm sorry, but we really need to go, Lon said smoothly. Only after Marilyn entered the elevator did Lon finally release me. Jamie, on the other hand, dug his nails cruelly into my arm again. Bitch, you almost ruined everything. Pain seared through my arm, but I was helpless. Outnumbered. Trapped. At their mercy. They dragged me down the hallway, shoving me straight into an operating room. Lon, this is a crime. Don't you know that? I screamed, thrashing against their grip. Lon, now dressed in surgical scrubs, barely spared me a glance. You're my wife and I'm the head of obstetrics. Who's going to question me for operating on my own wife? Without hesitation, he picked up a syringe and injected a sedative into my arm. My limbs immediately felt heavy, but my mind remained agonizingly clear. Strap her to the table, Lon ordered coldly. Jamie obeyed without question, securing my wrists and ankles with thick leather straps. They dug into my skin as I struggled, my breath coming in frantic gasps. Jamie smirked. Aren't you going to numb her first? Lon barely glanced at me. No anesthesiologist is available. Not to mention that this surgery is illegal, calling in another doctor would only cause unnecessary complications. We'll proceed without it. A wave of sheer terror washed over me. My blood turned to ice. Lon, you're a monster. I screamed, my voice raw with desperation. Lon scoffed. I'm doing this to save your best friend. Why are you making such a fuss? Jamie rolled his eyes. You just don't want Trish to get better, do you? You've always been a jealous of her, vindictive bitch. My eyes locked onto Jamie S., my voice shaking with rage. And you, have you lost your damn mind? Do you even remember whose baby this is? Jamie smirked, pure contempt in his eyes. Exactly. And that's why this is happening. My child was meant to save Trish. It's his destiny, his purpose. He turned to Lon. Hurry up. Let us get this over with. Lon nodded, grabbing a pen and signing a surgical consent form without a second thought. I married you for this moment. Now that I've signed the consent form as your husband, you have no legal ground to fight her on the future. Even though I had long known the truth, hearing Lon say it out loud shattered me completely. A searing pain ripped through my body as Lon pressed the scalpel against my abdomen and sliced through my flesh. There was no anesthesia, no relief, no numbness, just raw, unbearable agony. I felt every layer of my skin and muscle being cut open, like a wild animal was tearing me apart from the inside. My screams filled the cold, sterile operating room, echoing off the walls like a desperate plea for mercy. But there was none. You're going to pay for this, rasped, my voice barely more than a whisper as I used the last of my strength to curse them. Lan's excited voice cut through my haze of pain. It's out. The baby is it. For a split second, a sliver of hope surfaced in my chest, but then wait. Why isn't it breathing? Lan's voice trembled. Panic seized him as he held the tiny, blood-covered body in his hands. His face contorted in horror. No, this isn't right. Did something go wrong during the surgery? Jamie stormed forward and wrenched the child from Lon's hands, his face twisted with rage. What the hell did you do? He snarled. Lon flinched, his hands shaking as he reached out to check for any signs of life. Desperation flickered in his eyes before he turned on Jamie, grabbing the collar of his shirt. This is your fault. You kicked her too hard and now the baby is dead. Don't you dare pin this on me. Jamie's fury exploded. He drove a fist straight into Lon's face, sending him stumbling backward. That was my child. You must have made a mistake during the procedure and caused the baby's death. Lon wiped the blood from his mouth and retaliated, punching Jamie in the jaw. Are you insane? I was trying to save Trish. I want her to recover more than anyone. I wouldn't have risked my career by cutting Zara open if it weren't for Trish. If she doesn't get the help she needs because of you, I swear I'll kill you. The room erupted into chaos. The two men clashed violently, fists flying, equipment crashing to the ground. The sterile operating room became a battlefield. But I watched it all with empty, hollow eyes. The pain had numbed me. My body was broken, my spirit shattered. Then, just as Jamie grabbed a scalpel, ready to stab Lon's hand, Lon suddenly froze. His gaze snapped back to my mutilated stomach, his eyes gleaming with a twisted realization. Wait, the baby may have only just died, meaning the umbilical cord might still be usable. We can still save Trish. Jamie hesitated, the scalpel trembling in his grip. Are you sure? Lon nodded frantically. As long as the baby just stopped breathing, the cord blood is still viable. It's our last chance. Without wasting another second, Lon dropped to his knees and plunged his hands into my open wound. I could barely register the sensation anymore, just a dull, distant tugging as he pulled out the bloodied mass of tissue. Take it to Trish. Now, he ordered, shoving the remains into Jamie's hands. Jamie didn't hesitate. He bolted out of the room, disappearing down the hall. And then it was just me and Lon. He turned back to me with a smirk. Since you've been such a cooperative donor, I'll stitch you up nicely. You won't even remember you ever had a child. I let out a hollow laugh, my voice weak but laced with venom. You think you can save Trish now that you have the umbilical cord? Keep dreaming. Lon didn't even flinch at my provocation. He calmly threaded a needle and began stitching my torn flesh back together. I know you're upset, but once Trish recovers, I'll make it up to you. I'll treat you well, and I won't leave you. We'll still be together, so don't worry. I laughed bitterly. He actually believed I would forgive him. That I would stay with him after all of this? Lon, you married me to use my body as a living blood bank for Trish. You cut me open, stole my child and killed it. And you still think we can be together? He smiled condescendingly. The whole city knows you were abandoned at the altar by your fiancé. And now you've given birth to his baby, a dead baby at that. Do you really think anyone will accept you besides me? I met his gaze, my expression cold and unreadable. So, in Lan's eyes, I was nothing more than a disposable accessory, something to be used and discarded at his convenience. I let out a hollow laugh, my voice laced with both pain and mockery. Whispered, his face paling. Before he could react further, the officers seized him, yanking his arms behind his back. Lon Sterling, you are under arrest. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The moment Lon was taken away, the hospital director wasted no time in assigning another team of doctors to complete my surgery. Surrounded by medical staff, I finally let exhaustion take over and drifted into unconsciousness. When I woke up, the sharp scent of antiseptic filled my nose. I was in a hospital room, the beeping of medical monitors blending with the hushed voices of nurses outside the door. Poor woman. I heard she suffered massive blood loss. They had to replace nearly all of it just to keep her alive. You haven't seen it. I was there. I've never witnessed anything so horrifying, and I've been a nurse for 10 years. Even worse is the fact that it was her own husband who did it, and he's a doctor. I mean, how could he do something so cruel? He's completely out of his mind. Strive of medical ethics. Their murmurs faded as my phone suddenly rang. The name flashing on the screen made my fingers tremble slightly. It was a message from my biological father, Zara, sweetheart. His voice was solemn, almost remorseful. After I divorced your mother, I left for another country to build a new life. I had no idea you suffered so much all these years. I'm really sorry. Please let me make it up to you. As soon as he finished speaking, a notification popped up on my phone. A wire transfer of $500. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening with emotions I couldn't name. The money didn't touch the pain in my chest. If anything, it only amplified the bitterness inside me. The hatred I felt toward Lon and Jamie grew stronger. My father had found out about my situation because it was all over the internet. That's why he reached out now. My hands trembled as I quickly opened Weibo and saw my name at the top of the trending list. The comments section was in an uproar. This is monstrous. That was his own wife and child. How could he do something so heartless? A friend of mine works at that hospital. She said he performed the surgery alone. Like no assistant and no anesthesia. Just a raw, unattended C-section. He cut her open like an animal. Everyone who saw it is still traumatized. Word is, he did it to save his true love, who has leukemia. He cut his wife open early just to take the baby's cord blood for her. The hospital should also be held accountable. Without their protection, that guy wouldn't have had the audacity to pull this off. Reading through the outrage, I felt nothing. No sadness, no satisfaction, just an eerie calm. Without hesitation, I scrolled through my contacts and dialed a number. I need you to draft divorce papers, I told my lawyer. And while you're at it, I also want to sue Lon for fraud. Then, I sent over the audio recording of Lon and Jamie's conversation as evidence. After handling that, I contacted the most prestigious postpartum care center in the city. I needed to recover somewhere safe, far from Lon and his toxicity. At the same time, I filed a lawsuit against the hospital for negligence, holding them accountable for allowing the forced surgery to happen under their watch. It didn't take long for the hospital's legal team to reach out to me, desperate to negotiate. But I had only one condition. They needed to file charges against Lon as well. As I lay in my private hospital suite, basking in the warm sunlight filtering through the window, my phone rang again. The caller ID made my lips curl into a cold smirk. Lon. Of course, he had managed to get out of jail. Since we were still legally married, and there wasn't concrete evidence proving that our child had died during the surgery, his lawyers had successfully filed for bail. The moment I answered, his furious voice exploded through the receiver. Are you trying to destroy me? It was you who asked the hospital to sue me, wasn't it? I could hear him gritting his teeth. Don't forget that you're still my wife. If I go down, you'll go down with me. Have you even thought about that? I leaned back against the pillows, my voice laced with icy amusement. Haven't you received the court notice yet? Our divorce case is about to begin. What divorce? Lon scoffed on the other end of the line. As long as I don't agree, the court won't grant it that easily. Do you really think you can just leave me because you feel like it? The law doesn't work that way. His arrogance made me laugh coldly. Are you sure you can handle the consequences? Lon's tone turned wary. What do you mean? I glanced out the window at the glaring afternoon sun and let out a soft chuckle. I heard that once a doctor is sued by a hospital, they end up blacklisted everywhere. You're only 28, right? What will you do if you can never work as a doctor? Your mother fought so hard to put you through medical school, and your entire family is counting on you to bring them prestige and honor. If you ruin that, what will they say? You're threatening me? Lon ground out, his voice thick with rage, every word forced through gritted teeth. Think it through, I said indifferently. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Just as I moved to end the call, a deafening bang echoed through the room. The door flew open, crashing against the wall, and Jamie stormed in, his eyes blazing with fury. Before I could react, he grabbed me by the collar, his nails digging into my skin. Zara, what the hell did you do to the cord blood? He shrieked, his voice shaking with rage. Why isn't she getting better? Why is she getting worse? I met his glare with a cold, detached stare. You were the ones who forced Lon to cut me open, forced him to take the baby, abused me. And now you're questioning me? Don't you think you're out of line? Before Jamie could respond, Lon's panicked voice came through my phone, which was still connected. Wait, what is happening to Trish? She already got the umbilical cord, so why is she getting worse? Jamie shot a furious glance at the phone, his jaw clenched. This is all because of you. If you hadn't insisted that the baby died after being removed and not in the womb, the umbilical cord would have been viable. But now, because of you, she is suffering from rejection and her condition has deteriorated even further. A heavy silence stretched on Lon's end of the call. Then, Jamie turned his enraged eyes back to me, his face twisted with fury. You and Lon planned this, didn't you? He never wanted to save Trish, and you've been holding a grudge ever since she humiliated you at the wedding. This is your revenge, isn't it? His face was twisted with rage, his breath hot against my skin. For the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of fear. Just as her Arab tightened, security guards rushed in from outside. They pried him off me, restraining him before he could lunge again. Watching him spiral into hysteria, I let out a mocking laugh. This was her fate. I told you before, nothing you did would save her. She was destined to die. This is her fate. Bad fate to all you three. You bitch. I'll kill you. Jamie shrieked, struggling against the guards. It's all because of you. Trish is suffering because of you. Just then his phone rang, slicing through the chaos. It was the hospital. Jamie's frantic fingers fumbled to answer. Mr. Ashton, a solemn voice came through the speaker. Miss Barton's rejection reaction became severe. We did everything we could, but she didn't make it. She passed a few minutes ago. I'm sorry for your loss. The hospital door burst open again. Lon stumbled in, his face pale as a ghost. His eyes darted between Jamie and me before settling on his trembling hands gripping the phone. What happened? His voice cracked. Who? Who died? Jamie turned to him, his face drained of color. Trish is dead. They said. Trish is dead. For a moment, silence hung thick in the air. Then grief twisted into something darker. Jamie's bloodshot eyes snapped back to me, filled with pure hatred. Why wasn't it you? He whispered, his voice shaking with rage. Why did it have to be Trish, my Trish? You should have died instead. You should have died in her place. I met his gaze with cold detachment. You were the ones who insisted on cutting me open. You were the ones who took the baby. And now Trish is dead and you still want to blame me. I scoffed. You should listen to how crazy you are. Jamie's expression darkened, but instead of coming at me, he turned to Lon, his eyes cold and sharp. It's your fault. You performed the surgery. You refused to let anyone else assist. You must have done something to cause the baby's death. Without warning, Jamie lunged at Lon, throwing a wild punch at his face. Lon wasn't one to back down. He retaliated instantly, driving a kick into Jamie's stomach. If you hadn't he pushed to cut Zara open right then and there, I wouldn't he be in this mess. Trish wouldn't he be dead. This is all on you. Jamie spat, his fists swinging furiously. Lon dodged, grabbed a vase from the nearby table, and swung it toward Jamie's head. If Zara hadn't he found out about you and Trish, I wouldn't he have had to marry her just to protect the baby. This is all because of you. You ruined everything. The two men were going at each other with the kind of fury that left no room for restraint. Blood was drawn, fists connected with flesh, and yet neither of them seemed willing to back down. Security hesitated, uncertain whether to intervene. Meanwhile, I seized the moment. With a few taps on my phone, I started a live stream and injected a hefty sum to boost its visibility. Within minutes, my stream was trending, the viewer count skyrocketing. Comments flooded in. So Lon tricked Zara into marriage? What a scumbag. Disgusting. He ruined one woman for the sake of his first love, and now she's dead. Karma came fast. They're fighting over that woman? And not out of grief, they fight because their dirty secrets got exposed. Poor Zara, stuck between two absolute scumbags. I watched the chaos unfold before me, then turned my attention to Jamie. Jamie, don't forget. Lon was the one who performed the surgery, it was his hands that took your child's life. To be frank, you're two peas in the same pod. But, if you need someone to blame, we're on the same side. Jamie froze for a moment, then realization hit him like a freight train. His bloodshot eyes burned with renewed fury. Without hesitation, he reached for the shattered glass from the broken vase. Lon, he growled, his voice trembling with rage, you killed my child. You killed Trish. I'm going to make you pay. Before Lon could react, Jamie drove a shard of glass straight through Lon's palm. A blood-curdling scream tore through the air. Lon staggered back, clutching his mangled hand, his face drained of all color. My hand! He shrieked. Somebody help me. My hand! I knew exactly what he was panicking about. Even if he had been blacklisted by the hospital, his skills could still land him a job at a private clinic. But now, with his hand destroyed, he had no future in surgery. His career was over. Just then, security finally mustered the courage to act. The doors burst open and police officers rushed in, dragging both men apart and hauling them away. Jamie was arrested for assault. Lon, though spared from jail, was left with a useless hand. His days as a surgeon were officially over. Days later, as I prepared for discharge, Lon found me again. He looked nothing like the confident, ambitious Dr. Seymour he had once been. His eyes were sunken, his stubble unkempt. He looked defeated. I'll agree to the divorce, he muttered. But on one condition. You convince the hospital to withdraw their lawsuit against me. It was pathetic. Even now, all he cared about was secure himself a future. Without his hands, without his reputation, he had nothing left. But if the hospital dropped the case, he could still scrape together a life working in some second-rate clinic. It wouldn't he be glamorous, but he wouldn't he starve. I smiled coldly. Fine. Sign the divorce papers and I'll take care of it. I handed him the documents I had prepared long ago. Without hesitation, Lon picked up a pen and scrawled his signature across the page. With the signed divorce papers in hand, I kept my promise. I made the call to the hospital's legal department, ensuring that the lawsuit against Lon was officially withdrawn. The arrangements for Trish's funeral fell entirely on Lon. On the day of her burial, a light rain drizzled over the cemetery, dampening the already somber atmosphere. Because of the scandal surrounding Lon, only a handful of people attended the service. When I arrived at the funeral, the entire gathering went silent, shock rippled through the mourners, their eyes widening in disbelief. But no one's reaction was as visceral as Lan's, his face contorted with rage, his hands shaking as he pointed at me. We're divorced. Why the hell are you here? Why can't you stop tormenting Trish, even in death? He bellowed, his voice raw with fury. I met his gaze with a smirk, unfazed by his outburst. Dressed in a striking red gown, my makeup bold and flawless, I knew exactly what kind of reaction my presence would provoke. The murmurs around us intensified, voices dripping with judgment. She showed up in red, at a funeral. How shameless can she be? Lon might have done some horrible things, but let us not forget she married him while pregnant with another man's child. She's no angel either. She reeks of desperation. No wonder men keep leaving her. I paid no mind to their whispers. Instead, I raised a hand, and a professional filming crew emerged from behind me, swiftly setting up cameras and equipment. Trish was once a friend of mine, I announced, my voice carrying over the crowd. Now that she's gone, the least I can do is ensure she gets the grand farewell she deserves. Lon's fury only deepened. He lunged toward me, but before he could even get close, my bodyguard stepped in, effortlessly restraining him. "Zara, you heartless bitch. She's dead. Can't you let her rest in peace?" he roared, struggling against their grip. I arched an eyebrow, feigning innocence. Trish always loved being the center of attention. Wouldn't it be a shame if we sent her off without one last grand show? With a snap of my fingers, a projector flickered to life. Images began flashing across the large screen. Trish in the arms of multiple men, her flirtatious smiles, her carefully curated performances of innocence. And then the damning footage. Trish sneering as she discarded gifts Lon had given her, rolling her eyes in contempt. Lon's nothing more than a pathetic lapdog. Her voice rang out through the speakers. "He does whatever I say, no questions asked." A hushed silence fell over the crowd. Lon stood frozen, his face a mask of disbelief. His legs gave out, and he collapsed onto the wet ground. "No. This isn't real. She wouldn't." He mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. But I wasn't finished. The next video played, showing the harrowing moments in the hospital. The footage of Lon and Jamie dragging me to the operating table, of them restraining me as they cut my child from my body. The raw horror in the clip sent waves of outrage through the funeral attendees and the thousands watching the live stream. They're monsters. They do that to a pregnant woman? They're worse than animals. Both of them shall burn in hell. Lon doesn't deserve to be a doctor. Let us make sure no hospital will ever hire him again. Lon finally lifted his head, his expression twisted in rage. You planned this. You wanted to destroy me completely." I crouched beside him, lowering my voice to a near whisper. "I haven't even told you the best part yet." I leaned in, savoring the moment. "I took abortion pills long before you cut me open. The baby was already dead. The cord blood you so desperately wanted for Trish? Useless. In fact, it only made her condition worse." Lon's breath hitched. His entire body tensed as the realization hit him like a freight train. His fists clenched, his shoulders shaking. It was you." He spat, his voice breaking. "You planned it all along. You destroyed us. You killed Trish. You ruined my life. I'll kill you." With a sudden animalistic growl, he lunged at me, a glint of metal flashing in his hand. A knife. But before he could reach me, my bodyguard intercepted him, sending him flying with a brutal kick. He hit the ground hard, coughing as blood dripped from his split lip. The police, already on high alert after the funeral descended into chaos, stepped in. They arrested Lon on the spot, adding attempted murder to the growing list of charges against him. With the overwhelming evidence I had gathered, I pressed charges against him for multiple crimes. The court found him guilty, sentencing him to 7 years in prison. As for me, I had finally reclaimed my rightful place. I found my biological father, inherited his company, and stepped into the world of power and wealth that had once been denied to me. I thrived, stronger than ever. In the meantime, I waited. I knew that one day Jamie and Lon would walk free again. And when that day came, I'd be ready to rain hell down on them once more. Today's story is over. Thank you all for listening.